Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio, and welcome back to a new week. Let's jump into our cosmic weather. Not only is it a new week, it's a new month. So let's check things out. Cosmic weather, whole compilation of the energy around us. We start off with the solar wind. Spaceweather.com. Solar wind is the wind coming off of the cosmos. It could come from a variety of different locations. The sun is the main source that we're looking at here. That's why we call it the solar wind, the wind of the sun. It's blowing at 379.7 kilometers per second. Planetary K index at the moment is at a 2. Now check this out. In the next 24 hours, it can get as high as a 7. This is on a scale of 1 through 9, so that's pretty strong. So if you feel that it's getting a bit warmer where you are, it's because it's getting a bit warmer where you are. So that's basically it. So just be prepared for the type of things that happen during these type of activities. Anything as minor as colors in the sky to possible electricity going out at different places. Sometimes because of the conditions of the flare itself, and sometimes as an after effect. For example, people put on their air conditioners to counteract the heat that comes. While I'm putting on the air conditioners, sometimes all of the air conditioners of all the people doing that can overwhelm the electricity, and blackouts or electrical outages can happen from that manner. So we need to pay attention during these times because things can happen. We could see that our activity in the mid-latitudes, 35%, it's up to 50% severe in the high latitudes, and chance of having another flare is really minimal. Now, to see exactly what went on and what's causing this surge of energy, we had a double impact here. It tells us on the Earth's magnetic field in response to a pair of impacts on the 30th. That was yesterday. A weak interplanetary shockwave hit Earth at 10:25 Universal Time, followed by a stronger CME strike at approximately 22:30 Universal Time. So that's what's going on. We got hit by a couple. There was something, I believe, on the 29th or even the 28th that hit. So that's why we were feeling the heat over the weekend, partially due to that. Now, astrologically, we move forward in the name of the month. However, the sun sign that we are dealing with does not change. So the sun sign is the sign of Libra. Libra is an air sign that has to do with communication. Libra is a sign in the tarot cards that is represented by justice. Justice is all about karmic balance. So the nature that we're dealing with and the issue we're dealing with is air, in terms of balancing out, taking the actions to balance out the things in our life, the issues in our life. That's on the outside, so that's consciously what's going on for the next couple of weeks as we go through Libra. And underneath the unconscious mind, we've got two signs today, which means we're in between. It's called the void of course. We're in between Aries and the next sign after that, which is Taurus. This weekend, it was a full moon in Aries. Now we're moving forward. So the void, of course, is kind of that in-between phase where we're changing from one element to the next. The element of Aries is fire. The element of Taurus is earth. Fire is ideas. Earth is practical, physical things. So we're taking those things and going directly on in to our ideas. All right, so there you go. That's the energies we're dealing with. Fire and earth underneath, and the outside earth. Okay, moving right along. Our moon has gone from the full phase and it's moving back down again. We're at the waning phase, 98% of the way full, as you can see right there. So we're making our way back down. And on the Mayan Oracle, we're on a 9-tone day. The 9 tone is called the solar tone of intention. right here, still on the wave spell of the mirror, which is life reflecting itself back to us. The World Bridger is the kin for today, which is why it's in the middle, and the guide right above it is the wind. So today is the solar World Bridger guided by the wind. Then you've got the warrior, Skywalker, and the eagle are the supporting cast members all around. Our phrase for today is I pulse in order to equalize, realizing opportunity. I seal the store of death with the solar tone of intention. I am guided by the power of spirit. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is October 1st. Now let's take a look over here before we move on. Here on the Zolkin, it's the Mayan calendar. This is one of the grids that they use. 20 rows representing 20 signs, 20 phases that the sun goes through, 20 frequencies that it puts off. Here we have 13 columns. 13 columns represent the 13 moon cycles that we go through over the course of a year. The first 6 reflect the last 6. The middle pillar by itself is the pillar around which all of this operates, moves around it. If you can imagine this as a multi-dimensional object as opposed to just a flat image, and you could imagine this column here, the central pillar, as just being the center point around which all of this is revolving and moving, kind of gives you an interesting perspective. This is like an inner chamber. That's where we are at this point. We're right here in the inner chamber, this 20-day period of time. So things happen that are interesting during that time, and it's always something to point out and pay attention to. So there you have it, October 1st, 2012. So one of the things about today is the number 81. 81 days away from December 21st, 2012. So thought for today in that regards, I want to try to bring up thoughts and ideas every day as we do our countdown and get closer. So the idea for today is about the Mayan calendar. Is there going to be a dramatic act that is going to happen on December 21st? Well, let's look at the term and the idea itself first. This is the end of the Mayan calendar. So whenever there's an end of something, it always kind of assumes that there is a beginning of something. And in between the beginning phase and the end phase, there is something that is ongoing. Kind of like a race. You have the beginning of the race, the start, the race is going on, and then it comes to a conclusion. Or a school year. A school year is going on, it comes to a conclusion. So a conclusion means something is going on at the moment. That conclusion point is not the actual point itself, it's just the ending of that period. Well, December 21st, 2012 is the ending of a period. We are in that period right now. So we are 81 days away from ending until the ending of this particular cycle. So as the cycle is winding down, there's a bit more intensity that is going on the subtle levels. Sure, on the physical levels, things are moving along because the planets and the stars are aligning themselves, and as they do, there's shifts in energy that affects the physical world and the physical environment. However, subtle changes are taking place. This is the subtle energy that is inspiring people around the world to say and do some of the things that they are doing, affected by these energies. Everybody is affected in a different way. And as this energy continues to get more intense, people will continue to be affected by it. It's like looking at the planetary K index. It can go all the way up to a 7. Well, that's a high intense amount of energy. That is going to affect people when it hits them. So that energy and being able to deal with that energy will always be the most helpful thing to each individual. So that's why we go through the meditations at the end. That's why we talk about these things on this show. Prepare you for energy, because if you understand how to deal with the energy around you, then you're going to be better off as we move through the rest of the shift that we're going through over the next 81 days. All right, there you have it. So the first piece I'm going to get to today, this goes back to 9/11. Don't really like to get too far away from the subject because It was such a turning point in American history. 9/11 was much more than what Americans were told it was. The 9/11 Commission report, in all ways, shapes, and forms, was set up to fail and to provide fraudulent information to the general public, which they have done. The public has bought hook, line, and sinker the official narrative about 9/11, yet that official narrative doesn't stand up to scrutiny, doesn't stand up to physics, doesn't stand up to math, doesn't stand up to just basic common sense. There's holes and information and disinformation and so much stuff surrounding this particular event, and the thing that came out of it was the Patriot Act, a way to enslave Americans even more, to take away that patriotism, to take away the American patriot who's trying to stand up. And each of these bills that have come after that have gotten worse. You know, we're not hearing a lot about George Bush these days, not a lot of finger pointing. But when it does come up that George Bush left an economy problem, and people get all excited about that. How could you blame George Bush? Well, hey, it's true. The media wants to get all excited about pointing these things out, but it's true. But what gets forgotten is George Bush was the man who was in office when this whole 9/11 thing went down. He was one of those who is alleged to have known what was going on from the get-go. He is one of those who is known around the world in various places as a war criminal because of these activities. So I don't think he should get a pass just because Obama is a clown and seems to be causing so much commotion and getting the attention that he's getting. So anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. This is a piece, 9/11 in 5 minutes is what it's called. It's a good little piece. Here we go.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters, directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world, using a satellite phone and a laptop, directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat-trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor. These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to knock down 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York. While in Washington, a pilot who couldn't handle a single-engine Cessna was able to fly a 757 in an 8,000-foot descending 270-degree corkscrew turn to come exactly level with the ground, hitting the Pentagon in the Budget Analyst Office, where DoD staffers were working on the mystery of the $2.3 trillion that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had announced missing from the Pentagon's coffers in a press conference the day before, on September 10th, 2001. Luckily, the news anchors knew who did it within minutes.
Osama bin Laden.
The pundits knew within hours.
Osama bin Laden.
The administration knew within the day.
Terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbored them.
And the evidence literally fell into the FBI's lap.
That a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
But for some reason, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists demanded an investigation into the greatest attack on American soil in history. That investigation was delayed, underfunded, set up to fail, a conflict of interest, and a cover-up from start to finish. It was based on testimony extracted through torture, the records of which were destroyed. It failed to mention the existence of WTC-7, Able Danger, P-TECH, Sibel Edmonds, OBL and the CIA, and the drills of hijacked aircraft being flown into buildings that were being simulated at the precise same time that those events were actually happening. It was lied to by the Pentagon, the CIA, the Bush administration, and as for Bush and Cheney, well, no one knows what they told it because they testified in secret, off the record, not under oath, and behind closed doors. It didn't bother to look at who funded the attacks because that question is ultimately of little practical significance. Still, the 9/11 Commission did brilliantly, answering all of the questions the public had, except most of the victims' family members' questions, and pinned blame on all the people responsible, although no one so much as lost their job, determining the attacks were
failure of imagination.
Because
Nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
Except the Pentagon, FEMA, NORAD, and the NRO. The DIA destroyed 2.5 terabytes of data on Able Danger, but that's okay because it probably wasn't important. The SEC destroyed their records on the investigation into the insider trading before the attacks, but that's okay because destroying the records of the largest investigation in SEC history is just part of routine record keeping. NIST has classified the data that they used for their model of WTC7's collapse, but that's okay because knowing how they made their model of the collapse would jeopardize public safety. The FBI has argued that all material related to their investigation of 9/11 should be kept secret from the public, but that's okay because the FBI probably has nothing to hide. This man never existed, nor is anything he had to say worthy of your attention, and if you say otherwise, you are a paranoid conspiracy theorist and deserve to be shunned by all of humanity. Likewise him, and her. And her, and him. Osama bin Laden lived in a cave fortress in the hills of Afghanistan, but somehow got away. Then he was hiding out in Tora Bora, but somehow got away. Then he lived in Abbottabad for years, taunting the most comprehensive intelligence dragnet employing the most sophisticated technology in the history of the world for a decade, releasing video after video with complete impunity and getting younger and younger as he did so, before finally being found in a daring SEAL team raid which wasn't recorded on video, in which he didn't resist or use his wife as a human shield, and in which these crack special forces operatives panicked and killed this unarmed man, supposedly the best source of intelligence about those dastardly terrorists on the entire planet. Then they dumped his body in the ocean before telling anyone about it. Then a couple dozen of that team's members died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. This is the story of 9/11, brought to you by the media which told you the hard truths about...
His head could be seen to move violently forward.
And...
They took the babies out of the incubators.
And...
Mobile production facilities.
And...
The rescue of Jessica Lynch.
If you have any questions about this story, you are a batshit paranoid tinfoil dog-abusing baby hater and will be reviled by everyone. If you love your country and or freedom, happiness, rainbows, rock and roll, puppy dogs, apple pie, and your grandma, you will never ever express doubts about any part of this story to anyone. Ever. This has been a public service announcement by the Friends of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DIA, SEC, MSM, White House, NIST, and the 9/11 Commission. Because ignorance is strength.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. Today I have 5 stories. Let's get into them. Story number 1 comes to us from Cincinnati, Ohio. Glowing orbs seen over Cincinnati in September, so last month. Here's the object in question. Now, are these part of the same object, and this is different angles of it? I think this could be the front view. This could be looking at it from the bottom. There are 2 videos, one taken by the father, one taken by the daughter. I can only put one here due to the daughter not allowing the video to be embedded. So I will put the photos above and a link here to the second video right here. They said they were looking southeast. Middletown's approximately 2/3 the distance from the location. The brightness was greater than the flare and there was no smoke trail involved. Okay, let's take a look at what we have here. There we go, right out here in the middle. Alright, now this video is just a little over 2 minutes long. Fast forward, see if we've... Okay, you can see at one point it does disappear. It looks like there's another set of lights out there. Alright, so there you go. This is sighting number 1. Link will be available so you can check it out. Enlarge the screen, you'll be able to see it a bit better. Alright, here 2 UFOs seen over central London. This was on the 21st. You can see the first one pretty good. The second one's a bit fainter. Having just picked up a client in Kennington, I was making my way across an open space known as Doorstep Green, heading north towards Thames. I walked dogs. This was my normal route taking in a number of green spaces. My attention was drawn to a small dark object hanging in the sky to the north. It looked pretty much circular, not shiny, just dark, and at first I thought it to be a child's balloon, as I often see these, usually getting excited at the first time I spotted something out of the ordinary. I quickly concluded that this was not a balloon, It was moving almost imperceptibly into a southerly direction, and the quite low clouds in the area moving very obviously towards the east. A balloon would have drifted the same direction as the clouds and would not have stayed in such a persistent altitude. Alright, let's take a look here. We do have some video. Okay, it was kind of faint, he said, so you might be better off seeing this with the larger screen there, but okay, there you go. It's right here. You see that object? That is the object in question, and you got a building here or something as a point of reference for how large this is. Alright, that's sighting number 2. Next sighting here, this is over Midlothian, Scotland. This is another one. Just basically that this was flying across the night sky. This took place on the 28th. We've seen a number of videos from Midlothian. It's a pretty good size object, whatever that is, moving. Okay. So this is what they're seeing out there in Midlothian. It just get larger in size. Just jump back for a moment here. No, something else just popped up. Where'd that come from all of a sudden? That's quite interesting. Maybe cut in the film, I don't know. But check it out. See what you think. Here we have diamond-shaped UFO parks next to a famous Italy hotel. Okay. This is a live cam image that was recently seen in Santa Teresa, Italy. A glowing white diamond was seen of late hovering just inches over the water. In comparison of the diamond in the famous hotel next to it, it can be estimated that the UFO is 2 floors high from tip to tip. This is an infrared camera at night, allowing it to see only things that reflect its IR red lights. The human eye cannot see infrared light. More proof of this being a UFO. It's parked next to a world-famous Hotel Tierra da Santa Cecilia. Remember the first rule of parking a camouflage ship? Rule 1. Remember where you parked. Parking next to a famous hotel in the water certainly falls into an unforgettable area. Alright. So there you go. There's a very interesting... let's get the pictures here if we just click on that. Very interesting. Check it out, see what you think that is. And here up by the sun we have some more activity. This time the cube is back. The giant UFO cube returns to the sun in NASA SOHO photos. Okay, we haven't seen this in a short little while, but there we go. One of the readers made me aware that the UFO cube has returned. I searched in the NASA archives and found it, then got lucky yesterday and saw it again. It's back, and what it's up to is anyone's guess. For those unfamiliar with the cube, it's a giant 3-dimensional craft seen in SOHO photos since 2011, and always has its cloak up, causing it to look transparent. However, the UFO is much too large for the transparent shield to work correctly. Here we have 2 angles of the craft, one with steps in its end, most common, the other with squares within a perfect square. The cube is a very simplistic design, much like the simplicity of the flying saucer. Some people say it's pixelation, but you have to know that a cloaked ship would be semi-visible depending on its angle to the sun and the angle to the camera. Even aliens make mistakes. So there you have it again. Let's move here so you can get the close-up image when you do so. Alright, so there you go. That's our UFO news for today. Quite interesting stories. They're all around, but they're not invading because we've looked and we know that they're up there. So that bypasses the first rule of invasion, the element of surprise. So If they're not invading, perhaps they have something important to say. I don't know. I'll be back. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
All right, continuing on. So the next story here, check this out. Ron Paul will be on the ballot in Maine. This is very, very good. Check out this. Listen to this. Good news.
Hey, welcome back everyone. I am Matt Larson, and there's some great news out of the state of Maine. Ron Paul will be an official write-in candidate in Maine. So if you do live in the state of Maine, you are still able to vote for Ron Paul and have your vote counted. This is just released today, and it's fantastic. I mean, will it make a difference in the general election? No, it won't. But I believe that this would be a great way to send a message to the establishment and to the whole nation that if Maine went to Ron Paul, that's pretty much a hey, you can screw him out of all the other states, but the states where he's available, we're going to make sure that this guy does get elected. And there's actually 4 electors, too, that would go and place his vote in the Electoral College. So Ron Paul's votes would be represented. And it's good to see small victories like this. I know that it's not going to have an effect on the general election. But as I've said, it's a good way to send a message to the establishment to say, you know what? You can push us down, but we're going to get right back up and we're going to keep on fighting. So I'm going to post the link actually down below in the description. You can check out all the paperwork, like on who's the write-in candidates and who will be on the ballot. And Ron Paul is on the ballot in Maine. So if you guys have any questions or comments or anything like that, make sure you leave it in text or video response down below. I ask that you guys please thumbs up this video and share it with friends and family. If you're new to my videos, make sure you click that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all the current political news. As always, I'm Matt Larson. Go Ron Paul. Peace.
All right, very good. It's always a good report. So, you know, when people say don't vote for Ron Paul because a vote for Ron Paul is a vote for Obama. No, it's not. A vote for Ron Paul is a vote for Ron Paul. You just got to vote your conscience. That's what it's all about. The establishment's going to do what the establishment's going to do, and if you become afraid of following your own conscience because they've let you be afraid or made you feel you have to be, then you got a problem. You got bigger problems if you're letting them make you afraid in that way. Okay, remember I talked about all the voter fraud that was going on at the RNC and the DMC? And, well, DNC, not DMC. DMC was a band. Okay. RNC cuts ties with firm over voter fraud allegations. Tells us here that election officials in 6 Florida counties are investigating what appears to be hundreds of cases of suspected voter fraud by a GOP consulting firm that has been paid nearly $3 million by the Republican National Committee to register Republican voters in 5 key battleground states, state officials tell NBC. But the veteran GOP consultant, Nathan Sproul, who runs the firm, strongly defended his company's conduct, saying that it has rigorous quality controls and blamed the alleged fraud on the actions of a few bad apples, workers who were hired to register Republican voters for $12 an hour and then tried to cheat the system. The allegations of suspected voter fraud committed by Strategic Allied Consulting of Tempe, Arizona, spread Thursday to counties throughout Florida. At the same time, the Republican National Committee said it had severed its ties to the firm altogether. We have heard from supervisors in 6 counties that they have irregularities in voter restriction, said Chris Cart, spokesman for the Florida Department of State, which oversees the state's Division of Elections. Although local prosecutors were already investigating the firm's conduct, Kate said state officials were also considering turning the matter over to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to determine if there was a pattern of misconduct. Do you see the hypocrisy of this? A pattern of misconduct? The whole event was a pattern of misconduct. The whole election thing that's been going on has been a pattern of misconduct. It's so evident, and yet the media plays this game with other politicians to make it seem like people are stupid. Horrible. Horrible. It's not a good thing, folks. They've been cheating for a while. They're getting called out. And then look at the excuses they make. Alright, moving right along here. This is a We Are Change clip. This is John Kerry being confronted. This is a good clip. Here we go.
You're given peer-reviewed evidence, a paper peer-reviewed and published.
I know, and I've got the people looking at it.
Have you had a chance to look at the cover
I have
letter?
not personally, but they are looking at the paper you gave me.
Okay. If we give you, say, a week or two, can we get back to you after that?
Absolutely.
Excellent. It's very important because it is evidence of treason.
I hear you.
You made Building 7 comments, Mr. Kerry, before. You said
thank you very much.
In a controlled fashion.
I do know that that wall, I remember, was in danger, and I think that they made a decision based on the danger that it had of destroying other things, that they did it in a controlled fashion.
You did not make those statements before, but in a bookstore you said that Building 7, which was not hit by an airplane, came down in 6 seconds, looked like it came down in a controlled fashion. I mean, you made some very interesting comments on Building 7. And then you denied making those comments when we interviewed you in New York.
Yeah, can you clear that up, because Building 7 is such an anomaly.
I don't have a record. I'd like to see specifically what I said. I don't have.
Did you see the building come down?
I don't have.
No. You said that this building came down in a controlled fashion, like they took it down.
No, I don't think I said. I'd like to see specifically what I said.
What is your feeling on how it came down? Let's start fresh.
Guys. I'm not into running in the hallway interviews and these kinds of things.
We have very few opportunities to talk to a man like you.
Let me take a look at what the transcript says, and we'll go from there. Okay?
Fair enough. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, you got it?
So can you comment on your Building 7 comment, saying that it was brought down? And then NIST still doesn't have an explanation of Building 7. There's a lot of non-living heroes who have testimony.
I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Building 7,
Sir, please put that away.
Why don't you sign that for me?
Thank you very much.
Would you like to sign that? Sir, you cannot videotape. Would you like to take that information with you? Sir. Okay.
So, Mr. Kerry, can you clarify your statements on Building 7? There's not 11 heroes that support your statement that it did come down in a controlled fashion, sir.
Kevin McPadden, of course, responded.
Senator, about 1 year to this day in Texas, you said that building number 7, World Trade Center number 7, looks like it went down. They did it in a controlled fashion, sir. Could you please articulate what you meant by the Salomon Brothers World Trade Center number 7 was a controlled demolition and they had done it in a controlled fashion?
First responded Kevin McPadden.
You made that statement at the store called Book People in Austin, Texas on April 21st of 2007 when you were being questioned about the World Trade Center collapse of the Salomon Brothers building.
Thank you very much.
Senator Kerry, you cannot ignore these questions, Senator Kerry. Senator, yes, you did. It is on YouTube, Senator.
They made a decision based on the danger that it had of destroying other things, that they did it in a controlled fashion.
You are on file with testimony, Senator. You must clarify your remarks, Senator. Was it a controlled demolition, Senator Kerry? Skull and bones. We know what it's about, Senator. We know everything about you.
Building 7 was not part of the World Trade Center. It's next door. And we have questions from probably you and some other people. How did Building 7 collapse then? So I'm not an architect in any way or other. I'm not a builder. I don't know about these things. So we asked the Bureau of Standards to investigate. And they did a report, which you can get hold of. And they said that Building 7 collapsed from the aftershocks of that planes going into those buildings. It was so weakened in its foundations that it then collapsed.
Hear that? It was weakened from the aftershocks of the planes that hit. And they expect you to believe that. Okay, moving right along now. Here's a story. This comes from a convicted TSA officer. Pythias Brown, a former TSA screener at Newark Airport in New Jersey, was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison in 2009. Says that he was part of a culture of indifference that allowed corrupt employees to prey on passengers' luggage and personal belongings with impunity, thanks to lax oversight and tip-offs from TSA colleagues. It was very commonplace, said Pythias Brown, a former TSA officer at Newark Liberty International Airport in New Jersey, who admits he stole more than $800,000 worth of items from luggage and security checkpoints over a 4-year period. It is very convenient to steal, he said. We want to hear from you. Tell us your experience with the TSA by joining the conversation on Facebook. There's a video here. It's 3.5 minutes. I'm not really interested in playing this because you know how irritated I get when I talk about the TSA, and well, it's just the nonsense that's been going on that people have been dealing with, and it's good to see that someone's been caught and is called in on his actions. And to hear all of this is going on is just a confirmation. I hope this opens up, wakes up others out there to really understanding the problems that are going on. Okay, here's one more media information, and this was in regard to the Romney campaign. And again, look at the media here. It's no secret the media has been gunning for Mitt since the moment he posed a threat to Obama's re-election chances. However, they are usually rather sly about how they do the Obama campaign's bidding, especially since they need to keep intelligent viewers that they have left. But in the instance, they decided to blatantly misrepresent Romney-Ryan rally in an attempt to discredit the candidate. What was the situation? Basically, MSNBC reports at a rally where Mitt Romney introduced Paul Ryan. Then the audience allegedly begins to chant, Ryan, Ryan. However, it appears as if Mitt tells them to chant, Romney, Ryan, Romney, Ryan. What a selfish thing to do, right? Well, that's what MSNBC wants you to think. The Blaze was able to hear from someone that actually attended the rally, giving her eyewitness account about what happened. Apparently, MSNBC wasn't even close. So again, this kind of goes with the story of the voter fraud, of what's been going on. This has been the nonsense going on, and as people are waking up from it, it is making a difference. But you got to keep waking up faster. Now, this story here is something that seems to have a bit of urgency to it. AMEG, Arctic Methane Emergency Group, they've declared a state of emergency. It says AMEG declares that there now exists an extremely high international security risk of acute climate disruption, followed potentially by runaway global warming. The collapse of Arctic sea ice will change the reflective properties of the Arctic from 90% reflection of the sun's rays to a 90% absorber of the sun's energy. A vicious cycle of Arctic warming started between 20 and 30 years ago when currents from the Atlantic and Pacific warmed by greenhouse gases carried their heat into the Arctic to initiate an accelerating decline in sea ice and increase in Arctic temperatures. Extra heat has gone into the shallow seas over the continental shelf, warming them all the way to the seabed, with the potential of causing widespread destabilization of methane hydrates and free gas contained in the permafrost cap and greatly enhancing global warming. Incidental reports of increased marine methane emissions are ominous signs that this process has already started. Rapid warming of the Arctic has already led to disruption in the normal weather of the northern hemisphere, leading to widespread crop failures and societal disruptions which now threaten the existence of our civilization. The existential threat demands of us that we cooperate on an immediate emergency scale response in order to cool the Arctic and save the sea ice. There is a dramatic collapse of the sea ice this summer, and without action the collapse will be complete in 1 to 3 years. So, what can be done about that? Well, I don't know. Time will tell. Time will tell. All right. Moving from there, a couple of more things here. This is a piece from Dutch Since, and this is talking about a comet that is coming into our system. A very bright comet that you're going to want to know about. Here we go.
Hey everybody, Dutch Sense here. 3:01 a.m. Central Time on Saturday, September 29th, 2012. And I'm over here on my blog. I want to thank Carl Garnham for sending this over to me. This is breaking news out yesterday from National Geographic. I'm going to read this to you. A new comet is coming next year, C2012 S1, and the title says it all. Could be the brightest in human history. And just a few quotes from the article. Let me just go ahead and take you over there in a second. But quote number 1 will be one of the greatest comets in human history, far outshining Hale-Bopp. Another quote. Right now, 2012 S1 appears to be 615 million miles, that's 990 million kilometers, from Earth, between the orbits of Saturn and Jupiter, astronomers say. And another quote. It's thought that this is the first time this particular comet has ever passed through the inner solar system, meaning it's never been blasted by the sun before. Its brightness magnitude is expected to be -16. In comparison, the sun has a magnitude of -26, and Comet Hale-Bopp was -1. So it's going to be about half as bright as the sun, right? Brighter than the moon. And I just had a little tongue-in-cheek in here, but here's your Nibiru, guys. Happy end of the world. I'm going to get a cigar and coffee. And I put a link to the original Facebook post down below. And let's go over to the National Geographic article really quick. You guys can just take a look here. And again, it's got a whole article on here. You guys go ahead and read that. And be sure to forward it out. Get ready for it. It's going to be the brightest in human history. Strange times we're living in, guys. Be prepared, okay? Hang in there.
All right, there you go. Something good to keep an eye on, beware of. So we'll follow that story. And the last piece here, last story is this is Mayan text. The ancient Mayan text emerged from the jungles of Guatemala, confirming the so-called end date of the Mayan calendar, December 21st, 2012. Considered one of the most significant hieroglyphic finds in decades, the 1,300-year-old inscription contains only the second known reference to the end date, but does not predict doomsday. The text talks about ancient political history rather than prophecy. Marcelo A. Canuto, director of Tulane University's Middle American Research Institute, said. Carved on a stone staircase, the inscription was found at the ruins of La Corona in the dense rainforest of northern Guatemala by an international team of archaeologists led by Canuto and colleague Tomás Barrientos of the Universidad del Valle de Guatemala. The archaeologists made the discovery as they decided to excavate the front of the building that had been heavily damaged nearly 40 years ago by looters looking for carved stones and tombs. We knew they found something important, but we also thought they might have missed something, says Barrientos. Indeed, the archaeologists not only recovered 10 discarded hieroglyphic stones, but also something that the looters missed entirely, an untouched step with a set of 12 exquisitely carved stones still in their original location. Combined with the known looted blocks, the original staircase had a total of 264 hieroglyphs, making it one of the longest ancient Maya texts known and the longest in Guatemala. According to David Stewart, director of the Mesoamerica Center of the University of Texas at Austin, who deciphered the hieroglyphics, the stairway inscription recorded 200 years of La Corona's history, bearing 56 delicately carved hieroglyphics. The stone, referring to the year 2012, commemorated a royal visit to La Corona, which the ancient Maya called Saknikti, by the ruler Yukanun Yikak from the great Mayan capital of Calakmul on July 9th, 696 AD. Also known as Fireclaw Jagrapa, Yuknum Yikak had suffered a military defeat the year before during the war with Calakmul's long-standing rival Tikal. Scholars had assumed that the Calamul king died or was captured in the engagement, but this new extraordinary text from La Corona tells us otherwise. In the wake of the defeat, the Maya ruler visited La Corona and perhaps other trusted allies to allay their fears after his defeat. According to the archaeologist, the 2012 reference would have been a political move by the Calamul king, who wanted to reassure his peoples of La Corona after the stunning defeat. The key to understanding the reference to 2012 was the unique title that the king gave himself, said the archaeologist. In the text, he calls himself the 13th Khatun Lord, the king who presided over the celebrated and important Mayan calendar ending, 13 Khatun calendar cycle in the year 692. In order to vaunt himself even further and place his reign into the eternal settings, the Maya king connected himself forward in time to when the next period of the Mayan calendar would reach the same number 13, December 21st, 2012. This was a time of great political turmoil in the Maya region, and this king felt compelled to allude to a larger cycle of time that happens to end in 2012. The discovery is consistent with not only the reference to the 2012 date in ancient Maya inscriptions from Tortuguero, Mexico. What this text shows us is that in times of crisis, the ancient Maya used their calendar to promote continuity and stability rather than predict apocalypse. All right. So, you see, the Mayan calendar itself is a system that it's holographic. And the whole idea is when you have a particular time period, like today is a 9-tone day, next time a 9-tone day, and more specifically a 9 world bridger comes around, it's like the energy is in a place where we have an opportunity to maybe act differently than we did in the past. So what they're talking about, what was referenced in there, is the way in which the Mayans would use the calendar to mentally and project themselves into other phases of time by using the calendar in that holographic manner. And so there's a variety of different ways that they came to understand things, which archaeologists are learning to understand, and it was a very big part of what they did. So, all right, so there you have it. That is our UFO info for today. What that leaves us with is, let me pull this up here, our meditation for today, and we are not done yet with Warrior of the Light, so that will be what we're going to get to now. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go ahead and close your eyes and just pay attention as I continue on. When the moment for combat approaches, the Warrior of the Light is prepared for all eventualities. He analyzes every strategy and asks, what would I do if I had to fight myself? He thus discovers his weak points. At that moment, his opponent approaches. He comes with a bag full of promises, treaties, and negotiations. He has tempting proposals and easy alternatives. The warrior analyzes each of these proposals. He also seeks agreement, but without ever losing his dignity. If he avoids combat, it will not be because he was seduced, but because he judged it to be the best strategy. A warrior of the light does not accept gifts from his enemy. I repeat, you can recognize a warrior of the light by the look in his eye. Warriors of the light are in the world. They form part of the world, and they were sent into the world without saddlebags or sandals. They are often cowardly. They do not always act correctly. Warriors of the light are wounded by the most foolish things. They worry about trivialities. They believe themselves incapable of growing. Warriors of light sometimes believe themselves unworthy of any blessing or miracle. Warriors of light often ask themselves what they are doing here. Often they find their lives meaningless. That is why they are warriors of the light, because they fail, because they ask questions, because they keep looking for meaning, and in the end, they will find it. The warrior of the light is now waking from his dream. He thinks, I do not know how to deal with this light that is making me grow. The light, however, does not disappear. The warrior thinks changes must be made that I do not feel like making. The light remains, because feel is a word full of traps. Then the eyes and the heart of the warrior begin to grow accustomed to the light. It no longer frightens him, and he finally accepts his own legend, even if this means running risks. The warrior has been asleep for a long time. It is only natural that he should wake up very gradually. The experienced fighter puts up with insults. He knows the strength of his fist and the skill of his blows. Confronted by an unprepared opponent, he looks deep into his eyes and conquers him without ever having a resort to physical fight. As the warrior learns from his spiritual master, the light of faith shines in his eyes, and he does not need to prove anything to anyone. He is not bothered by his opponent's aggressive arguments which say that God is superstition, that miracles are just tricks, that believing in angels is running away from reality. Like the fighter, the warrior of light is aware of his own immense strength. He never fights with anyone who does not deserve the honor of combat. The warrior of light must always remember the 5 rules of combat set down by Chuang Tzu 3,000 years ago. Faith. Before going to a battle, he must believe in the reasons for the fight. Companions. Choose your allies and learn to fight in company, for no one ever won a war single-handedly. Time. A battle in winter is different from a battle in summer. A good warrior is careful to select the right moment to begin a fight. Space. One does not fight in the same way in a mountain pass as one would on a plain. Think about your surroundings and how you best move in or around them. And strategy. The best warrior is one who plans his fight. The warrior rarely knows the result of a battle when the battle is over. The activity of fighting will have generated an enormous amount of energy around him, and there is always a moment when victory and defeat are equally possible. Time will tell who won and who lost, but he knows that from the moment on, he can do nothing more. The fate of that battle lies in God's hands. At such a moment, the warrior of the light is not concerned with results. He examines his heart and asks, did I fight the good fight? If the answer is yes, he can rest. If the answer is no, he takes up his sword again and begins to train all over again. So take a deep breath. Exhale. And imagine yourself walking along the path, feeling the qualities and strength and confidence of the warrior of the light. You see others along the journey and you see their confidence in them as well. And you realize and remember that we are all reflections of each other along this path. All warriors of the light, looking for our truths. Imagine all of our chakras are activated from the bottom of the spine up. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, and indigo. Allow the energy, this multicolored energy from all of your chakras, fill your body till the light overflows, and as it overflows and begins to spill into the area around you, it fills your room, spreads out to the neighborhood, to your city, to the state, to the country, and then all around the world, across the seas, and around all the other countries. Just imagine sending love and light to each and every individual along the planet, and a little reminder that we are all here working together to make this a better place, to make ourselves better one day at a time. Finally, let's just think a good thought for everybody, and as we wish everyone a good day, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. There you have it, my friends. That's our show for today. I will be back tomorrow with more news information. Till then, have an awesome day. I will talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.